The last time USC went into the state of Ohio for one of its best players, they found a guy named Fred Davis. He went on to win the Mackey Award for USC.
You are Locked On USC, your daily podcast on the USC Trojans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Fight on, everyone. I am your host, Mark Holkin, and thank you for making Locked On USC. It's part of the Locked On Network, your first listen every day. Whether you're watching the show on YouTube, you can pick your platform, you can download this podcast. It's always free, and I always appreciate your support. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. All right, so USC is going after one of the Buckeye State's best running backs, and they're doing this 20 years after they, pulled Fred Davis out of Ohio, turned him into the best tight end in the country. They're going to do that for Shahn Alston. They're going to turn one of Ohio's best running backs, hopefully, into one of USC's next Heisman winners at running back. Now, according to the On3 Network, Shahn's really good. I've watched his film. I agree. It's really, really good. In fact, he is, in the state of Ohio, the fifth best player. He is one of the top 150 players in the country. He's considered the number, depending on what platform you use, the number 9th best running back in the state, in the entire country. So USC is getting a good one. Shahn, thanks for coming to the show. First question, I want you to talk about your journey and why is USC the place to be?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so my journey, I started playing football when I was 5 years old.
Okay.
I really started taking it serious about 8th grade, I would say. Where it just stood out to USC. USC's always been a school I always dreamed of. I remember going into my freshman year, me and my parents, were just thinking about some schools that, I was interested in. USC was one of them. So when they offered me, I believe it was actually yesterday. So yesterday,
Wow.
they offered me. So that was a blessing in itself. But what stood out to them for me was just the stuff outside of football. I mean, football is great. Everybody knows USC history. Everybody knows, what the football can bring to the city of Los Angeles and, stuff like that. But just the stuff outside of football really interests me. All the internships, all the networking opportunities, USC provides for a football player. I really think that's important. Especially at running back. The shelf life in the NFL is about 4 years. So I'm gonna need something to lean back on, and USC does a great job of making that a standard and a priority.
You talk about this being the 1 year anniversary of you guys kind of getting engaged, so to speak. Who approached you first? How did this whole thing come about? Because you're a ways away from LA. I mean, let's be honest here.
Right, yeah, you're right. It's honestly pretty crazy. So last year, it was around Coach Jones' first year. I never talked to Coach Jones. I forgot what college he was at. But I seen he got the USC job, sent over my film. And I had my coach link underneath the film.
Okay.
And it so happened to be I was on the way to a visit to Wisconsin. And that night, I remember he called me, said he loved my film, but he just wanted to get the okay from Coach Riley, make sure everything was okay. And later that night, he called me, and they offered me. And ever since then, we've been in contact, and everything just fell into place.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Coach Jones. Obviously, he's going to be your position coach. He's a funny dude. I mean, the guy's always got a smile. He's always cracking jokes. Mm-hmm. How often do you guys communicate? How often do you talk to either Coach Jones, Coach Riley, USC in general?
I always started with USC in general. I mean, all the commits got a group chat with, a couple of the recruiting guys like Dre Brown and Coach Bowden and all those guys. So I talk to those guys almost every day. Coach Riley, he came into the school, last month. Still keep in contact with him via text message. Coach Jones a couple times a week. So I mean, it's always still constant contact with those guys, and continuing building relationships with everybody and the whole staff.
You played in the Navy All-American game. That's where you made your commitment to USC. How important was that?
Actually, I told Coach Jones I was going to commit December 12th, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, and I was gonna do it on my birthday, which was December 28th.
Okay.
I got the invite to the All American game, which I thought was for next year, but it was for this year. So I just decided, who want to commit on, one of the biggest stages, So that's what led me to commit on the USC, not USC, U.S. Army Bowl.
Sure, sure. Now, I believe April 22nd is your next scheduled visit.
Correct.
Have
Correct.
you had a chance to set up an official visit date yet?
Yes, it will be June 6th through the 8th.
Oh, wow. Okay. It's a big weekend. You're going to be hanging out with some cool guys in there. USC's got a really nice class they're putting together right now. On that note, you and Brandon Lockhart and Xavier Griffin, you're some of the more outspoken, active guys on social media. You're kind of the point man for this class so far. Who else are you forming a strong relationship with? Because again, this class right now, it's got a strong base from California. So who are some of the guys you're starting to forge those relationships with?
Yeah, definitely. Me and Brandon Lockhart has definitely been in communication with some guys we want to see, wear, the USC uniform. I'm mainly focused on, the Ohio guys. I've been also reached out to some of the out of state guys. I know it's a lot from IMG. I've been talking to a couple of guys from California. But my biggest targets right now that I just been on every day is Albert Rockhill from Hoban, is cornerback. Looking forward to, keep building with him, and hopefully we get some news with him soon.
Yep.
And Favorite Key, I mean, he's a running back, but I believe USC is recruiting him for linebacker. So, he's been real interested, and we've been talking, almost every single day. I actually probably will call him after this, but just a couple of those guys. I know I was talking to Deshaun Rideau, another running back. I believe two running backs is always great for a class. Definitely somebody, in practice we can push each other. I feel like always competition is always good. So just to name a couple guys that I feel like we can get, and a couple guys I've been talking to.
Now you said you almost committed to USC when you were out there,
Mhm.
and you tended to wait a little bit. What was the thing that really you got to Southern California, just went, whoa, I can see why USC is the place to be. What was the one thing that said, this is it?
Um, that's tough. I mean, it's almost like I knew what I was getting myself into, but just going out there and experiencing it in person, it was just totally different. I mean, I feel like I can fit right into what they're doing. My visit was incredible. I mean, they laid everything out. With meetings and visits and all those types of stuff. I mean, I seen everything, talked to everybody. Everything was great. It was by far my best visit I ever been on. So just the overall feeling I got, just I knew it was home immediately. When I stepped foot on campus, and that's what almost led me to commit there that day.
And I know it was an unofficial visit, but was there any particular player that you got to hang out with that you struck a relationship with?
I got to hang out. Are you talking about other recruits or just players on the team?
Whatever, whatever.
I know Coach Jones had me linked up with Woody Marks a lot. I talked to him a couple of times, got to exchange numbers and all that type of stuff. So I seen talked to him a lot, and I talked to Quentin Joyner, which he unfortunately transferred out, but it was still good meeting those guys, and was able to talk to a couple.
Or at least that number 0 might be available when you show up.
So, so,
All right, I got a bunch more questions for you, but let me do this first. Stand by. All right. Now, you brought up Woody Marks and Quentin Joyner, both really good running backs at USC. Woody was the USC's first 1,000-yard rusher. You got to go back to 2017, which is really weird for USC fans. If you were to describe your running style, which college or NFL running back do you think you compare yourself to the most?
I would say Nick Chubb. Just going by a smaller stature guy. I'm not the tallest. I'm 5'10", 5'9", whatever you want to call it. But me, I have a strong lower half of my body. I feel like I have great contact balance. I feel like I have enough speed to where I get out in the open field and I won't get hawked down from behind. I feel like I have enough shake where I can make a defender miss. So and great vision as well. So I just feel like I always watch Nick Chubb's game. I always kind of model my game after him, especially since he's a Cleveland Brown guy.
Right.
So I say Nick Chubb.
And then you also, the films that I've watched, you got pretty good hands. You can catch the ball out of the backfield. How is that part of your game, I guess, improves in your first 2 years? You're obviously going into your senior year of high school.
hmm Well, yeah. Well, my freshman year, I wasn't the fastest. I probably ran about a high 4.6. Sophomore year got down to a low 4.6. I mean, this year I'm 4.5, but I'm just continuing getting faster, continuing, to develop route running. I feel like that's been a highlight of my offseason was route running, especially right now. I mean, my route running has gotten tremendously better since, the last game. So I hope to display that, next season, my senior year. But just continue to work hard every day, working on the little things and the little details, and everything I can improve on. Just going into college is what I'm at this off season. So just looking forward to continue to getting better with every aspect of my game.
You had the three hats on the table when you chose USC. It was USC, Wisconsin, Penn State.
hmm
This might feel, I don't know, maybe this is going to be the hardest question I ask you. Was there any reason why Ohio State let one of its best running backs leave the state and go to USC of all places? In your mind, why do you think that happened?
Um, well, one, we had a coaching change there.
Okay.
Ohio State had a coaching change. I mean, I had a great, relationship with Coach Alford, who's now at Michigan. So with him leaving, I had to start all over with the new running back coach, Coach Lachlan. So with him leave, Coach Alford leaving, that delayed it. And then Coach Lachlan, I mean, we still talk to this day, matter of fact. But I guess he thinks some other backs are better than me. So it's always a funny conversation when I talk about Ohio State and just looking forward to playing with USC and hopefully getting to play those guys in a couple of years.
I was just going to say, I'm sure you've got a calendar that looks ahead to USC's schedule in a couple of years, so you'll have a chance. You had a pretty severe knee injury. Can you talk about that? Do you want to talk about that process and how you came back from that? And that's how it's helped your game grow.
hmm Yeah, I suffered a torn ACL my final game of my sophomore year. At first it was hard, more mentally than physically, just to get over that hump. But I had a great surgeon, Dr. Voos. He actually did Nick Chubb's surgery, so another relationship to Nick Chubb. But I had a great surgeon, and just attacked the physical therapy head on. And honestly, like I said, I felt a lot faster, a lot stronger, than I was the year before. So my going into my junior year. I missed the first two games. I got cleared literally a Monday and played that next Friday. So I really didn't even have any off season last season. So I just went out there and played. So I'm just, looking forward to being able to have a full off season this time and being able to show, all the stuff I worked on. And you should be able to see a big jump from my junior year tape from my senior year.
I just want to make sure people understood this clearly. Your last game of your sophomore season,
Correct.
you tore it up. You were ready to play one game, your first game of your junior year.
No, I actually missed the first two games.
Okay. Still a pretty quick rehab time, though.
Yeah, pretty quick. It was about 8-9 months.
How many hours a day were you dedicating to rehab?
Man, like I feel like if there was time in the day I can get better, I was doing it. Whether it was just stretching to getting full, movement back in my leg or just to strengthen it. Like every single hour of the day I was doing something just to, get it better. I was itching to, get back, training everything. So, every chance I got I was on it.
That's amazing to hear. Now, I know your dad's part of your high school coaching staff. How much does that help you understand the game? Because he played the game too. So, is that where you came up with the humble but hungry motto? I think that you live by. Was that yours? Was that your dad's? How did that come about? And playing for your dad, having him on a staff, is that easy? Is that hard?
I'll just start off. My dad's been my coach since I was 5. It's like forever. I always had my pops as a coach. Whether it was football, basketball, when I ran track, he was a coach. So he definitely knows what gets me going. He always never lets me slack. Always knows what to say or do to get me going. Um, playing for him is not hard. I mean, I feel like if I can play with him, I can play with any coach in America because he's that type of dude that's not gonna let me slack or do anything. Humble but hungry. That was that was his idea. He presented it to me, and it fit me. It presented with me, and I just lived by it ever since then. So I know I'm blessed with my situation I am now, but I'm still hungry enough to want more and always get better. So I feel like that statement I live by.
Number one, it's a positive statement all the way around. So I think you got some great NIL opportunities there. So make sure you take advantage of that. And speaking of that, just real quickly, how big is NIL? Not so much what USC is offering, but the way it's changed the game. How do you see NIL and the way it's affecting the game today? Good.
Um, I wouldn't say it's a bad thing. I definitely feel like players should profit off their names. I don't agree with you don't know anybody's situations, but I don't agree with just because the school's offering the most money, you go to that school. I believe you should go to the school that best fits you, and if you get NIL from it, then great. If you don't get the amount of money you want, then I mean you gotta. At the end of the day, you're getting a free education. You're just setting yourself up for life after football. So yes, NIL is great. Of course, everybody would want NIL money, but at the end of the day, you got to go to the school that best fits you and not just for a price tag.
You got a real OG soul. I mean, you got an old school soul, and I really appreciate that. So I think you're going to fit in just fine when you eventually get to USC. Speaking of that, are you going to be an early enrollee? I think you mentioned, during your commitment that SC checked off all the boxes, including the academic part. So are you going to be an early enrollee? Is that one of your goals? I see you shaking your head up and down. Yes, that's great. What are some of your favorite classes? I mean, what do you enjoy about school when you're not playing football?
Yes, I will be early enrolling in January of next year. I'm really good at writing. I'm a great writer. I feel like I love writing essays. That's I bring joy to it. Yeah, just essays. I love writing essays.
That's awesome. I'll have to watch out for my job in the future when you're done playing
Ah,
football. That's also, like I said, that's great. I love hearing how young men are well rounded and all that. And we're going to talk about that in the next segment.
mhm.
So one last question before we do that. How much did you actually know about USC? And when I talk about USC, I mean it's tailback U. Their whole tradition about pumping out running backs. I learned something the other day. Lendale White. He played high school in Colorado. He's from the state of Ohio. I don't know if you know that.
Mhm.
So maybe you can be that next dude. So how much about USC's running back history were you aware of before you took the visit and you saw the murals on the walls and all that kind of good stuff?
I knew a pretty good amount. I mean, my side of my family is one side is Ohio State fans, another side is Michigan.
Uh-oh.
Which is crazy, but so
Oh,
I knew a
wow.
lot. But yeah, I've always known a little bit about USC, which was everybody knows Reggie Bush, OJ, those guys, Lendale White, like you said.
Right.
So I've always known a lot, pretty good amount. So I'd say I'm still learning, more and more, which is always something I would want to do is learn, what I'm getting into. So I'd say that.
Okay, cool. All right, we got one more segment to go. I'm going to ask you about 200 questions in 5 minutes. Not really, but it's just a quick. We're going to run some questions off, and you just got to come up with the answers off the top of your head. But first,
Okay.
I'll do this. Imagine watching your favorite team live. You're feeling the energy of the crowd. You're witnessing some unforgettable moments. There's nothing like experiencing a big game in person. Getting tickets shouldn't be stressful. That's where Game Time comes in, making it easier than ever to grab last-minute seats at unbeatable prices. I've always liked how easy the Game Time app is to use. I mean, it's super simple. And they give you these really cool, great deals, the best price with the lowest price guarantee. And if you don't find the best price guarantee, Game Time's going to credit you 110% of the difference. My favorite feature at Game Time is they give you your view from your seat before you check out. You know exactly what you're getting. so you can take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. That's LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, Shahn, this is where the show gets really, really challenging for you. I'm going to ask you some questions. And this is really, I want to give the fans a chance to get to know who you are. They appreciate you for your football skills. Well, sometimes fans tend to forget you're real people. You know, you're human. You got feelings. You like to do other stuff. So let's start with this one. I'll be easy. What are some of your hobbies?
Me, I'm pretty a laid back type of guy. So whether it's just I love going bowling with my friends, just eating with my friends, just just going out, working out with my friends. I like to fish, believe
Okay,
it or not. Um, just quality time with the people I love. That's pretty much it. Not too much.
I like that. You mentioned that you're a writer. You like to write essays. So obviously English, creative, we'll call it English Lit is probably one of your favorite classes.
Mhm.
Dream car. Let's say you have the ability to buy your dream car. What is that dream car?
Man, I've always liked the G wagon. I've
Okay,
always liked the G wagon.
all right. What's your last meal? If you could have whatever you want and you can just pile up that plate, what is Shahn stuffing down his mouth?
Okay, I'm a big Cajun chicken, Alfredo type of guy. So Alfredo with Cajun chicken.
All right,
That's ratatouille.
got it. If you could have your own walkout music, what's your groove? What's Shahn coming out of the tunnel at the Coliseum? What's playing in the background?
What's playing in the background? For those who know, Rod Wave. I gotta listen to Rod Wave every single day. That's the go-to, Rod Wave.
Okay. Mama's boy or a dad's dude?
Man, sorry pops, but
Oh,
rocking with mom. Rocking with mom.
what's that one special thing that puts mom over the top over dad? I know you hang out with your dad a lot. He's your coach, and you've got that special relationship. But what is it about mom?
Mom is just mom is just mom. I mean, a lot of sons know. Mom just does the little stuff. Mom thinks a little bit more before she says or does something. So just mom.
I can completely relate to that. I get what you're saying. I'm the oldest of three brothers. So, do you have any siblings, by the way?
Yes, I have three older siblings, so three older sisters to be exact.
Also, they're the ones who keep you in check. It's not mom or dad.
Yeah, they don't play. They don't play.
All right, last question for you. 75-yard touchdown run or pass protection pancake block?
Ooh. Is it for the game, or is it second, third quarter?
You got to make that choice.
Ah. Okay, for the game, I'd say okay for the game, pancake block. Second, third quarter, going into halftime, 75-yard touchdown.
See, I thought you were actually going the opposite direction with that. I really did. But you know what? That's either answer. You can't go wrong. Travis Dye played running back for USC a few years ago, and he had this thing where he said, "No blocky, no rocky." So if you're not blocking, you're not going to touch the rock, obviously. The other thing he did, and it's something that I see a little bit with you when I hear you talk, and I've watched a couple of past interviews, and I think it comes out with your humble but hungry motto that you live by. Travis wasn't a big talker, but he was a big leader. But he knew when there was the right time to pull a teammate aside and says, "You know what? You suck. You're not doing what you should be doing." Is that come easy for you? Is that something that you see yourself as? Are you a vocal leader, or you lead by example, or do you pick those times where you know what, you're just going to gather the whole team around you and say, "This is how we do it"?
Right. So, as I said before, I'm more of a laid back type of guy. So naturally, I lead by example. But all leaders know when it's time to get in somebody. they'll do it whether it's in front of everybody or pull them aside. You know, I have multiple situations where I had to pull a guy aside and tell him, you know, let's go, let's lock in, let's turn it up a notch. Or sometimes I had to address everybody, you know, the whole team at once. But usually, if you ask my teammates, I'm leading by example type of guy.
Outstanding. So, Shahn, again, I want to say thank you so much for doing this. It's been a pleasure to actually meet you, talk to you for the first time.
Mhm.
I love where you come from. I see big things for you. Tell the Trojan fans, and I know you're not going to break any news to anybody, but tell them why they should be excited about this 2026 recruiting class.
Okay, yes, sir, definitely. The 2026 class will be special. We will win a national championship coming up. There is some guys that will be committing here soon. You guys should be excited. You guys should be, you know, keep refreshing the Twitter because it could come any second now. But definitely should be excited. You know, big things ahead for USC and Los Angeles, and I just can't wait to get out there next year.
Shahn, again, thank you so much. I look forward to doing this in person with you. But until we get that opportunity, I want you to enjoy the rest of your spring, go into summer, work hard. And man, when you show up at USC's campus, good things are coming. So
Sir.
everyone who's watching this episode of Locked On USC, thank you so much. I will be back with another 4 more episodes this week. So until then, everyone, you know what to do.
Fight on, fight on.
You're the man.